All right, good afternoon, you guys. It is Friday afternoon, July 9th. We just ended this week. It's been pretty sloppy all around. The market's been choppy and some red days for sure, and a lot of some of the losses for me personally just this week. So it wasn't too terrible. I was able to make it up in a lot of scalps throughout the week, like MTIQ or MITQ and SGOC, just to name a few. But definitely some swings took a hit this week, right? We saw Fubo dips, we saw CCIV, OCGN. Kind of small caps took a pounding on Thursday pre-market, and so it's been a little bit rough this week, but I am sure we're gonna get back on track pretty quickly here. Now, before I go into some of the watch lists for next week, I want to show you a few charts here regarding indexes. Number one, let's take a look at SPY. I have my EMA clouds here and also this linear regression tool, and you can kind of see that SPY is dying to break out at the 435 level. We had a few hours of dips yesterday, but you see that we're coming right back here today at the 435 mark, which is pretty much an all-time high for SPY. I want to just kind of address this real quick because it's pretty scary, right? It's the correction. If you're looking at this chart, you know the correction is coming, right? And no one can time when that correction will come. We're talking about SPY, we're talking about QQQ, and all these indices. So just be careful out there. I'm not going to be putting out a ton of swing plays for the next week or two, so I can kind of get a better gauge in terms of how the markets are responding with all the news from the Feds, etc. So you can see that there's a breakout here, or it's trying to break out at 435. And if it does break out, we can go to, I don't know, we can possibly end up with the 440 SPY. But if it goes there, then you know that, look at this linear regression chart here. Back in April, when it did break out above this linear regression line at around 417, 418, it fell all the way down to low fours. So just be careful that we can see another correction if this SPY continues to run. Now let's hop over to QQQ real quick. All right, Invesco. So this is mostly tied with tech. And the reason too I'm pretty bearish on the tech is because, well, we did, if you look at my Elliott chart here, once again, it tried to break out, to 362 range, and that completed the wave 5. We entered correction on Thursday. It's trying to come back into this 5 range, and it's getting stuck here so far. So if the QQQ, if there's any inflation news, if there is more fear about the inflation, you're going to see this test the 355s again, or even lower down into this red regression here. So watch out for the QQQ. This is closely tied with tech. If not, then of course, hey, we can continue to move up and you'll see tech moving as well. Real quick, I'm going to hop over to Apple. And the reason I'm very bearish on Apple is because I know they hit an all-time high today of 145.65. And you can see the last time that it hit this range here, this was the beginning of the tech correction, if you guys remember, okay? If I pull this chart next to QQQ or even SPY, you can, or even the S&P 5, you can kind of see we're starting to hit a top in the tech world. So I would just, again, be careful. I am holding on to puts for the time being, probably most likely hanging on to it over the weekend. I do think this is going to back test a little bit here. This kind of, tremendous swing here from 120-ish, is just due for correction. So let's go over to SPX. All right, we'll go ahead and look at S&P 500. And same thing here, right? It kind of matches the whole SPY setup. It wants to break out above the 43.65 line. And you can see yesterday we corrected, right? So there was a correction wave. And today it went literally back to B, right? So we're already back to B on the correction. If it cannot break out higher, then we're looking at another correction wave to C and eventually moving on. So my take, again, from what I said in the beginning, just be careful taking long positions in the next few weeks. At least let things settle. I want to see what's going to be happening in the markets. You have a lot of fear, doubt, uncertainty when it comes to the Delta variant from a global perspective. So with that being said, I do think, that bios are going to run hot, and that's why we're still in OCGN. As far as anything I'm holding over the weekend, I am going to hold ELF, as you know. Let's just hop over to ELF chart real quick, and I mentioned this multiple times throughout the chat rooms, is that let's just hop over to 4-hour chart. All right. And it's trading within this. Let me move this linear regression here, so you can see that it's box trading, right? Gaps up, gaps down. All right, between $13.50 range up to about 18 or 17.80, right under 18. So it kind of gets stuck at this wall up here, and then comes back down. So we're making the way come back. So now it's kind of a pain in the ass to hold it. I understand. However, I think the rewards outweigh the risk in terms of what this chart says. All right. Let's see. Let's keep going on here. I'm going to go back to, I'm going to pull up Wish here. All right. And I mentioned this yesterday as well. ABC correction wave is done. All right. Now we should be moving back up, hopefully, but it's kind of getting stuck between this 1075 and the 1114 range. So it's going to sit here for a while until there's a next big move. It could consolidate, which is fine. But what you want to do is avoid Wish if it's going to fall back down here again into the 9, lower 10s and upper 9s, which I don't think is going to happen, but we don't know. There's still some hype around this, so I'm still holding the stock, and we'll see what happens. I would love to see a move past 12, just so we can start getting some momentum off the stock. But, for the most part, a longer hold than I anticipated, but I'm willing to kind of stick it out, see what happens here. All right, let's go ahead and go to, on my watch list for next week is NEO. So I'm going to pull up the daily chart here. All right, once again, doing the Elliott wave theory here, and now it's correcting. It did correct down. Let me delete some of this. Okay, it did correct down to 43, right under $43 yesterday. As you guys saw, everything got sold off, and today it's it's doing okay. It's definitely respecting this support line of 43. What I'm looking for here next week is that if EVs tend to get hot, all right, you can do a call, a 50 call, all right, into August or even September. I prefer to go long call on this because there could be some volatility when it comes to the EV sector, as you know. So I don't want the theta to eat you up, right? So look for a 50 call from me some point over next week, only if I can get a sense that this is going to move past 46. Now, so right now, as I record this video, it's at 45.38. I want to see a close above 46 for a little bit of more confirmation signal. All right. SPCE, let's talk about space. All right, Virgin Galactic, sorry. Watch the news this weekend as they're launching Richard Branson into space. So I anticipate that they're going to push back. They're going to postpone it. If it postpone it, it's going to be great for puts. So right now I'm writing on $49 puts for next July 16th. And so I'm anticipating, you can see what happened when the last time they ran news and it didn't work out. It kind of dipped here. The hype, all right? So if it comes back down here to 43, that's kind of where I'm anticipating that this goes. You can see that when back in January when they tried to launch something, this tanked from the 64s and all the way down to $13. That's a huge correction. So be careful with this one. I'm going to hold the puts here only because I do feel that I'm not so optimistic that this whole project is going to work out. All right, so that's just my personal opinion, but the charts do say that, hey, there's some room to go down here. All right. Okay, let's go on to Fubo, your favorite stock, my favorite stock, Fubo. All right, Fubo found its A, correction wave A, and it's on the way back to B. So I'm watching this and I'm looking for a move past 30 to confirm that we're gonna head to 35 again to the B wave here, and then we'll fall back until news is coming out, news comes out, etc. I am still anticipating some type of news with the NFL. So I would say here, I'll just kind of type this out for you. Go August or September. Monthlies, August, September. Let's see, it's monthly calls. If you like ITM, you can do 30 or near the money. If you like to do OTM, you want to do 35, and I wouldn't go past 35 in this scenario. All right. Okay, so let's move on to, so I already talked about, let me talk about two stocks that's kind of new on my radar. Well, not really new, but ITRM, as some of you guys are already on the stock. So I'm looking at the 4-hour chart. Hey, nice reversal off 112 yesterday. So I'm still kind of hanging out on the sidelines waiting to see when's the right entry. I didn't take a position today because this thing ran like 10% real quick in the morning up to 138. You know there's a big gap to be filled up here. So we'll see how that goes. The PDUFA date, I'll pull up the biopharma catalyst calendar here. It is ITRM is on the 25th. Now, you know the reason why this gap down too is because they have some labeling deficiencies, but it doesn't hurt the PDUFA date. Now, the only risk here is, of course, they don't get approved or they get delayed is actually better than approved, or they get a CRL. And with small cap bios, you know, there's a higher probability that they're going to get a CRL versus an approval. Oh yeah, this thing's going to go to $4, $5, $6, at least $3, right? But if it doesn't get the approval, then the risk here is that it goes back to 1, okay, or slightly below 1. At least that's the risk that I see here. You know, it's usually about 20-25% after the dust has settled. So this to me represents lower risk in terms of a penny play or small cap play. The risk here, $1 floor. I'll probably set a stop at $1, but I'd like to get in at 120 next week. After today's little hype, I figured there was going to get some hype going into the July 25th, and so next week I'll be most likely building a position here. You can take a starter too. Remember, guys, you don't have to just go all in. I mean, you can go, let's say your budget or your position size is normally $1,000, right? Why don't you buy 333 shares at a time, okay? And then scale out at 1/3 at a time on the way up as it closes this gap, because I'm pretty sure with the hype that's going to build around it, it could fill the gap on a pretty high probability. All right, next one, final one for next week. Again, I'm not going to do too many swings or too many entries, maybe just a couple next week until I find some opportunities, and they always come up on the news, etc. on Benzinga Pro. So I'll send out more updates over the weekend or even next week. But you can see Elbow. This is the one that I'm looking at. They do have a July 20th, so it's actually before ITRM. So they do have a PDUFA date. It's a priority review on July 20th. You can see, where's Elbow? Right here. It's a priority review with an action on July 20th. So I do like this. Now, right now, significantly low volume. All right. I'm looking for a breakout out of this pennant. All right. Usually about, $36, and then build a position going into to PDUFA date on July 20th. So we'll see where this can go. Now, this has a relatively low float, about, I don't know what the float is, about 30 million, or 30 or 40 million. But this could move pretty fast with that approval. This one is interesting. And the reason I say that is because they're obviously not a small cap stock, right? They are considered mid cap. I'm looking through their website and going through their pipeline, and it does look pretty good. Generally, if you're going to play PDUFAs, you want to see that the companies actually have other stuff in their pipeline, not just one drug, because one drug can literally kill a company, right? Like ORF, for example. The only thing that ORF has going for them is because they have a small float, right? But they have several other drug candidates for adult liver disease, cholastic disease, undisclosed, chronic constipation. So they deal more with the digestive system type of drug. So this one, they already got approval here. So we're looking at this Biliaria Australia, all right? Not very clear on what that kind of condition that is. I hope I never get it. However, again, low volume for the moment. Low volume for the moment, all right, but we can see if they do get approval, it can jump up pretty fast, looking at 40 and maybe even $43 area. So going back into the stock history, I mean, the stock was 50 bucks at one point. I would definitely scale into this play. Take it. It is kind of a pricey stock, right? If you're into small caps, this is going to be a pricey stock. Pick up a few here and there and wait for the news, all right, if you decide to go in on this one. All right, so with that being said, that's all I have for the afternoon. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Look for emails and educational videos from me this weekend. I do plan on producing some. And hope you guys have a wonderful time with your families and all. And God bless.